What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Barbells and Trails podcast. We're here yet again, episode 60, and I know it's been a couple weeks, but hey, I'm here. So, ta-da. Bailey's back with me yet again. If you cannot already tell by my voice, I am sick, so that sucks. I have a sinus infection of some sort, so I've been dealing with that for the past 4 days. But, real quick, before we even get started, we're going to go over a bunch of stuff with Noah's last podcast and everything, and a bunch of other stuff going on. But we're at 92 subscribers. We are 8 away from 100. And I told you guys when Noah was on, when I hit 100 subscribers, I want to do a live stream with multiple guests, possibly including her and Riley, or maybe that would be interesting for Kelvin or Freddie's first appearance. That would be something. But still want to do that at 100 subs. So if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay. So now that that's out of the way, Bailey, how's it going? By the way, if you can't, you might not be able to hear him. Our dog is laying next to Bailey right now, and he's huffing and puffing. So you might hear that in the background a little bit. All right, so I don't know. I told you the next day when me and Noah recorded the last episode. We kind of told you at the night. It was like 1 a.m. almost. It was real late. A bunch of stuff had happened that night. Noah had smashed his phone, and we did get home. And I was drinking because we went out to WWll. I had cocktails and all this stuff. It was a very long, drawn-out night. But the reason, if you guys noticed, I was very untalkative. And, I don't know, it looked like something was wrong with me at the beginning of the podcast. I'm pretty sure I was food poisoned for about a quarter of that podcast.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we went to B-Dubs, and I don't know if my wings were a little uncooked, but basically for about an hour, my stomach was upset. I ended up shitting myself when I got home, blew my toilet apart, and then after that, I still didn't feel good. I got the cold sweats. I was pale. I just felt like ass, and my stomach hurt, and I thought I was going to throw up. And I was sitting here at the beginning of the podcast with me and Noah when we first started. We were like, okay, let's not make it too long. And it's late and all this shit. And Noah was about to go to Oregon. And I'm sitting there. And I'm like, okay, we'll make it short. We'll do like a 20-minute podcast. I don't care. 30s. And it ended up being an hour. But I'm sitting there. And I feel like complete shit. I realize I'm sweating. I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, oh, how much time has it been? I look at my watch, and it's literally been 5 minutes, and I thought it'd been like 15, and I'm just sitting here like, I might want to stop this. I considered it like 4 times. But, what's been going on with you the past couple weeks? It's been a minute.
Just been working. I don't know. I don't think I've really done anything. Work.
No. Yeah.
Clean. Cook. Deal with our dog.
Yes.
Got a ticket.
That's true. You did get a ticket. You are a rebellion on the road, apparently. Is what they put in your notes. Diesel. What? Yeah. Yeah. Pulled over for speeding.
Yeah. I was pretty mad about it, actually. I don't think anything else has happened. Can you think of anything? For me, I don't know.
No, I can think of things for me. But, I mean,
I'm pretty boring. I have no idea.
You weren't involved, but you witnessed
I helped a friend move.
A lot of partying.
True.
On the 4th.
That was a whole
weekend. That was
a lot.
A lot. That was definitely a lot.
Like 4 days consecutive.
Pretty much.
Consecutive?
3.5, yeah.
It was too much for me.
It was a lot. I was wore out by the end of that, and then I went to work. 3-day work week, and I'm sitting here, I'm like...
I didn't even party, and I was wore out.
Yeah. It was late nights, pretty much every night, besides one. One night was kind of eh. But we watched Hustle until like 2:30, and in the morning.
Hustle?
Yeah.
The
Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, yeah.
Basketball movie.
I was thinking of like The Hustle with the group of girls.
Oh yeah,
That's what I was
like
thinking of. I
Hustlers,
forgot,
I think.
or whatever it was.
Maybe it is The Hustle. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
What'd you think of that movie?
It was really good. I liked it. I didn't think it was gonna end the way it ended necessarily, but it was cute how they ended with the tattoo on his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good movie. I liked it. I was happy.
It was definitely different from what he
typically does.
Yeah.
That's why I still want to watch Uncut Gems, since I haven't seen that. I've heard that probably relates to them.
Gems.
He's a jeweler and gambler.
Oh, yes. I remember
Yeah.
that. I also want to watch Champions or whatever with
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, not only that, but on the 4th, Tom Segura's special got released. The Sledgehammer. Which, did you watch the whole thing?
I watched a lot. I heard a lot of it. I didn't watch a lot of it.
Ooh, well, what'd you think?
It was pretty funny. I like some of the stories he said.
Oh yeah,
about
the stories were hilarious.
His kid was one of them, right?
You did, yes, yeah. Kids, yeah, his boys.
There was another one. I don't know.
About his wife.
Another one that sticked out. Oh, his wife's wrist.
Ankle, but yeah.
Something.
I'm upset that you haven't finished it, because I think you.
I don't even know if I was there for the beginning, because you probably started it when I wasn't here.
No, I think you were, but I was able to finish it. Bailey pieced it through. I think you've probably seen about half.
Probably.
But the end is so good. So if you haven't seen it already, I do encourage you to go watch. Just in general, it's hilarious. And his stories about his mom, I think, are my favorite, because his impression of her and the stories of his kids, absolutely hilarious.
Oh, the nursing one. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh.
When he was in the hospital.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty good. But it was really funny. And I also liked where he did it. Like, in Phoenix or whatever, the stage, awesome, worked out amazing. I thought it was probably his best film special. It felt very, very professional, and I'm like, man, I hope it doesn't take as long as it did for him to release another one. Same with, like, I can't wait till Rogan's comes out, because I think he's recorded his, so hopefully his comes out sometime this year, because they're all really good. Like, I'm a fan. I mean, I'll probably watch it again. But, Game of Thrones. What do you think? We're
what season are we
2 episodes
on?
into season 7.
We're just now on season 7. Isn't there 11 seasons?
There's 8.
Oh, I thought there was 11. Why do I keep thinking there's 11?
I don't know what you're thinking, honestly. I said 10, and that was my bad originally. Because I originally thought it was 10.
I do. I really like it still. There's some things that are surprising in it so far, but not at the same time.
We haven't actually talked.
Like, I was upset about the daughter dying. I can't think of her name. Of, the Fire Queen or whatever the fuck her name is. When she killed the little girl.
Oh.
I was upset about that. I was really
Stannis' daughter
for that. Or when why can't I think of her name? The queen. Cersei. I went to say Sansa and I was like, I know that's not it. Or when Cersei just like killed fucking everybody in the Sept, and then her son committed suicide, which I think I knew the suicide part. Because really? When you watched it, I've seen bits and pieces throughout the entire series. And then I was happy that Jon and Sansa got reunited. They're kind of bickering a lot.
Yeah.
And so still, I still really like Sam, but I think my favorites are still Jon and Tyrion.
We're a lot alike. Yeah. So we're episode 2 somewhere in season 7. I think the season finale was a lot for you, because a lot happened in the end of season 6. Yeah. Like things are really starting to heat up. This is where like the stakes start going.
I'm just really, because of everything that happened, I don't know how this would end. Like in my head, I'm like, I don't know how this can end. I obviously know that Cersei dies, but who kills her is a mystery, because that could be anybody, because nobody likes her.
It's true.
And what's gonna happen, because who's gonna take the throne after her, because there's nobody in her family that has the right to the throne. So is somebody
Khaleesi?
taking over? Oh. Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just don't think that if Khaleesi or... Is there still somebody else that wants to take the throne? Littlefinger or whatever.
Littlefinger, yeah.
If one of them ever gets on the throne, I just feel like it's not going to go well.
Well, of course not.
Well, especially Littlefinger. I don't like him. He needs to go goodbye.
Do you really expect for the show to go on much longer past whoever gets the throne?
No.
Yeah, exactly. You're over here like, well, I don't know. I think it'll go bad. We don't know.
So what? They end it with somebody getting on the throne. All I know is how it ends for Jon.
No, it's not like they just fucking sit and say, end of the show. But at the same time, they don't like show what happens.
Yeah, the only person that I know
what
why
the end of
for
season
sure
suck.
Is Jon.
Yeah, because you Googled.
I didn't Google that. I Googled. What did we Google?
You were upset because of his death, and you Googled it.
No.
Yes, that's what it was about. And you looked it up to see if he came back alive, and you found out. And then you're like, oh, he goes up behind the hall.
Yeah, because it showed up when I looked it up.
Yeah.
That he ends up going back with the free people. So do him and the redhead that I can't think of his name ever get back together?
Yeah.
Not back together, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because he's at the castle.
Yeah, he just left. Yeah, there's a lot that happens in this season and the next. Like, basically everything up until this point has basically been building into these two seasons. Like, I feel like this season has shit that happens, but it's still not to the really, really, really big shit. And it's still building, but it's like right on the edges of the door.
The Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Came to
like, basically, all of season 8 is climax. Like, it's all... For the most part, it's basically all like, oh, like this is big shit happening. Every episode, pretty important. And then it finishes itself off. But once you get to like season 8, there's only like 8 episodes or less. But some of the episodes are like an hour and a half. So they're like a movie.
Oh, yeah, because the last season that we just finished, the last episode was like an hour 15.
Yeah. So there's a few that are a little longer. After we watch this, I do kind of want to watch House of Dragons.
I've only heard of that because you talked about it. I've never heard of it before that.
I've never really talked about it because I don't know what it is. I just know it's a prequel to the show, pretty much. And it's supposed to be like 300-400 years in the past from the Game of Thrones show. And so like the Targaryens are in rule and stuff going on with them. That's the show. I've heard it's really good. But I just found out today somewhere, it's on YouTube, that that wasn't the first prequel that they were considering making. They apparently were thinking about making a series on the Long Night and everything that basically sets up for the whole series and history of Westeros 1,000 years before the original show. Like, they were thinking about doing that, but when they went to start putting money into it, like, they were going to have a budget of like $30 million to make this show. They were like, oh, George R.R. Martin, the author for the books, hasn't actually written out many characters for this part of the whole storyline or have much detail in it. So they're like, we're going to have to come up with most of the material, most of the people, and they know how people liked how they ended the show, which isn't Game of Thrones. So they were like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't delve into something.
People liked how they ended it or didn't?
They didn't.
Which I think I remember that. And Because the books aren't done, right?
No, the books aren't finished. So because of that is why people think that they said, yeah, you know what? Let's not fill in the blanks to his stories again and come up with our own origin or whatever for all this stuff. Like the first time the Nightwalkers really, or White Walkers, not Nightwalkers, White Walkers really took over. Like that would have been that originally, like before the wall was built, like that kind of shit. And they decided, yeah, no. So they scrapped it and then did House of Dragons because that's a fully wrote out storyline. All the characters are developed. That's all you need. So you can just translate it into a TV show. A lot easier to do than write it all yourself.
I would think so. I wouldn't be able to do that job.
That'd be
I don't think I'd be able to do anything.
That'd be hard.
I'll come give you coffee. I'll be one of those people. But I could never do writer, screenwriter.
The biggest thing, I think I could come up with shit. I don't think I could write it all out. That's where but I could come up with some like weird worlds and things. Not saying I wouldn't also build off of other shit, but that's most people is taking something and changing it, making it your own. But I mean, the thing that I think astounds me the most in like fictional worlds is when it comes to like other languages and how people do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like how like in Lord of the Rings there's like Elvish and all this other bullshit, and like in this there's Valyrian and Dothraki and shit like that. And it's like, okay, well if that's all in the books, which there's a high possibility, that means he had to come up with it all, and he's literally writing there, like, and it's
just like, when we were reading An Ember in the Ashes, they had different languages, and I was like, what the hell? How do they do this?
Exactly. And it's like, so did that person, because some people definitely do, did they actually create a language?
I feel like they pull off of other languages around the origin of where they're trying
like
to
Star
write
Trek.
from.
Like even there's some languages from that people made and actually made into a language. And it's kind of crazy because it's like, you're literally making up nonsense. And some people that actually organize it and be like, this is this letter, this is what this means, all this shit to make it understandable for themselves. It's like, bro, I can barely speak English, let alone come up. Like, abak means cat. That's in my book. But then that means I gotta fucking come up with everything else. And then, abak Schneider. Cat is stuck in the tree. That maybe that's what that means. God. And so then I gotta fucking remember that shit. So if I ever bring up cat again, I'm like, fuck, what did I say? Unks? What? No, that's not what I said. So, story's fucked. You know?
Wow. That was a lot.
What would you do?
Schneider.
Unks and Schneider.
Oh, God. I don't know. I couldn't do it. I can't speak English. Can't write English. I can't read English. German? So I for sure wouldn't be able to make up my own language. Like when they make up the when people can speak gibberish, like
pig's Latin,
like what they call like literally speaking gibberish. There's a girl in high school.
I'm impressed when people speak languages I don't know.
Her and all of her siblings learn together how to speak gibberish and can have full-on conversations that nobody knows what they're talking about because it sounds like nothing. There's only bits and pieces that you can pull from. And I'm like, I wish I could learn that.
That's how I feel when I walk into a Chinese restaurant.
True. Just pull up your translator.
Other languages is fascinating because it's like, those sounds to me are just...
I actually really wish I knew ALS.
I wish I knew languages.
That's like the first that is a language. That's like the first thing I would want to know.
Sign language? What was that?
Wow.
Inappropriate.
Maybe.
Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty nuts. And then not only that, but speaking of Germans, Oppenheimer, he's not German. Well, is he German? Fuck, I think so. The Oppenheimer movie's coming out in 2 weeks, roughly a week and a half.
Yeah.
I think it's next Saturday.
I think that's gonna be a really good movie.
Yeah, Manhattan Project, talking about nukes, which I just listened to a 5 or 6 part series on a podcast talking about the Manhattan Project and everything about it between the actual bombings and everything that actually happened at Nagasaki and Hiroshima and all that shit, and let alone the behind the scenes creation, everything else, which was crazy. That makes me want to watch Oppenheimer even more because I want to see what they did. Yeah,
it's gonna be
it was bad. There's a reason we haven't launched any nukes in the past pushing 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
The stories of literally people just falling apart and decaying without even knowing it and understanding what radiation is, and there's no pain and skin literally falling off of people.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. And I think
crazy to think about.
Most of the people, I think, actually died from the fires from the bomb, not even the bomb itself.
That's what I remember learning.
And then there was a lot of people that died from radiation after, but
it's crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah, and I think the total death toll between them were like 300,000 people, something like that. It's nuts. Crazy. Did you know that people that were there, survivors, were outcast in Japanese society?
Why?
Because they were worried that radiation sickness was infectious at the time. So, because they're like, oh, you survived the bomb. We don't want none. Get the fuck out of here. Like, you can't marry my daughters. You can't. Whatever.
How would they know?
I think it's like, they probably give you a card. I don't.
Here you go. Good job surviving.
Survivor, but fuck off. Leave the village now. And fucking, you better show that card every time you come back. But no, like,
where's a badge? I am survivor.
Like, I didn't realize that Hiroshima wasn't supposed to happen originally. Like, it wasn't signed off on. So Truman was upset that even happened. They were only supposed to drop one originally. The president,
which I thought I remember them talking about that they were only supposed to drop one, like when we talked about in history class.
Maybe I couldn't tell you.
It's been a long time.
But that was where afterwards they changed it, where you had to have the president sign off to launch a nuke, because they didn't sign off on it. And
so the person pressing the button just pressed it.
Well, it wasn't a button.
Well, whatever.
It was on a plane, but
he just dropped it.
Yeah, sorta. It was a combination of things, and then
was it miscommunication, or he was just like, "Bye."
Well, they also did it so quickly after the second bomb, so like they didn't get a response from people. They didn't get a response from Japan on surrendering already, let alone they didn't know at the time that Japan was ready to surrender 2 weeks before they even dropped the first bomb. They were like, yeah, we probably should do this. They were just trying to figure out the terms of how they wanted to surrender at the time. They were ready to. They were like, we can't fucking deal with this shit anymore. Our people are starving. Like, Japan was out of food and resources. And we're just over here dropping the world's largest bomb ever at that point.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. And just the amount of people killed and the lack of knowing what would happen. It's nuts. So it was a crazy story in general. Like, I knew, like, I found out about the stories of, like, the fire bombings in Japan. I didn't know about that in World War II and didn't know how bad they were. They were almost worse than the nukes. Killed the most amount, the highest death toll in one event in the world history was the firebombing at Tokyo. And
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah, 500,000 people dead in like 24 hours.
From us?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
When?
World War II.
Wow.
Yeah. The nukes were bad, but honestly the firebombs did more. Because we did it to multiple cities. But Tokyo at the time, even though it's not what it is today, is still massive. And most things were built out of wood and paper. So.
That is crazy.
Yeah, fire bombs were the whole. I've listened to a podcast, and there's a book about it by Malcolm Gladwell that I really want to read. And it was all, like, he talked about the history of bombing itself, because it became a science. Like, World War I was kind of when it started getting worked on. But it wasn't around. It wasn't until then that they were like, oh, yeah, we have planes. I wonder if we could figure out how to drop something from the planes on top of our enemies. And, like, the science behind it and how it's a bitch. Like, it's a pain in the ass to actually hit a target accurately from 30,000 feet. And how that then transitioned to incendiary bombs and how we used them in Europe. And then we used them in Japan, which they were even more effective because of the infrastructure. And how one person wished, I can't remember who it was or who the general was, but he said he about wanted to completely firebomb Korea, I think was the war. And he was like, let's just burn the whole fucking thing. Like, bomb the whole thing. He's like, I don't give a fuck. And that this man had probably single-handedly had a larger effect on human death toll than any other person in the world, like higher than Hitler, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god!
It was because of him that this new style and technique of bombing became a thing, which caused more casualties, more innocents, deaths, like all this stuff. So like his death toll technically because of him, ridiculous. Like
that's insane.
Yeah. I had no clue, and I'm like, this is like U.S. shit.
I've never known
like
any
we're
of
supposed
that.
to be the good guys here. Wait a second.
Yeah, no wonder everybody hates us.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it is kind of just crazy, that whole situation, because it's like there's so much we're not obviously told, and it's not like it's hidden. It's just not outwardly spoken, you know. So when some people dig up some
but then
shit,
I feel like sometimes when you do outwardly speak about it, they're gonna be like, that's not true, that's conspiracy, we didn't learn that in high school.
Maybe, but yeah, but at the same time, it's like they keep a lot of things under wraps that we don't know about. Like for certain stuff, even if it's classified, they have a grace period until we finally know. So by the time it might be released, no one knows about it. Or it's like, oh, they don't announce. Well, they might announce it every week. Like, hey, we just declared this file cleared. You guys can actually see it now, even though it's been 4 years. Like that's part of the issue with like JFK's assassination is they've been supposed to be declassifying everything on it years ago. Like I think it was supposed to be talked about and done in the 80s or 90s, and they're still like having issues on declassifying everything, and they're basically waiting for everyone to be involved
to die.
Dead. So it doesn't matter if they come out because they're all dead anyway. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, we know more about our government's history probably than most, but they still do some shady shit. Like, there's no denying that. Yeah, that whole thing. Let's just say I was working that day when I was listening to this podcast. I'm sitting there by myself on a Saturday, and I'm just like, I was not expecting to listen to this at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, fuck. Like, World War II just, like, there's so much I didn't know where it's like, I didn't, wow. Like, that is pretty fucked up. That's why when you look at it, it's like, there's not really a good side to war. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, yeah, there might be a better side worth fighting for, but in general, the idea of war is what's so, like, haunting. So it's like, fuck, when we're supposed to be the good guys, and then you still hear the stories of what
it's always just
did.
like the top dogs that make the dumb decisions.
The top dogs, you're right.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, fuck, we were watching Game of Thrones, and same shit. It's like you got...
If you just get rid of them.
I mean, you basically have the 4 or 5 people that's in the small council that make all the decisions for the entire country, even the people they're not in charge of. The governors. The other lords that aren't like kings and queens in higher government. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And they're making decisions on the common folk that have no idea what's going on.
And they're just lied to. That is us. Common folk.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
I mean, it's a tale as old as time.
A tale as old as time.
Wrong one.
Song as old as rhyme.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, by the way, I definitely do need to get Freddie and Kelvin on sometime. I told Freddie, I was like,
Think
hey,
they do it?
I think so. I asked Freddie, I was like, hey, I think it'd be cool if you got on the podcast sometimes. And he's like, why? I don't know how to talk. I'm like,
I think
yeah,
if you got Freddie like warmed up and like he could do it,
yeah,
he would do it more than Kelvin would.
No, I think if you get Kelvin going, he'll go.
I think there's topics that you could talk to, but I feel like Kelvin will be more apt to just be like, nah, I don't want to do it.
He might say he doesn't want to do it, but I think once you get him on here and it's like, hey, we're just talking, it's just being recorded, then I'll just fucking roll. Because you've never been around him. I've only been around him when he really gets into a conversation. And fuck, it's like he's a part of the family. It's like he's popped out straight of the Shirk side. Like, he fucking rolls, dude. You get that boulder moving, it's not stopping. He'll talk about nukes all day, which we fucking about did one night. Does he watch
the podcast?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. Hi, Calvin. But, I mean, like, we were literally there. I got caught because he's also a military guy, and part of his thing is, I think, like, dealing with, like, compound, like, what's the word? Like, not chemicals, but, like, hazardous shit, like hazardous stuff like that. Waste? Sorta, but yeah, something like that. Not necessarily him physically dealing with it, but stuff to do with hazardous chemicals or weaponry or whatever, stuff like those along those lines. He got on this rant, and then we're like looking at all these cards that he got from this thing when he was on drill. He's like, "Look, it's all these different military weapons from all these our enemies." Like, it's literally a card deck printed of all, like, oh, here's a truck that they use, here's a remote missile launcher on a truck, here's a tank from Russia or something, and it's like all these things for like all these countries. And I'm like, what the hell? And then we get on to Oppenheimer, and then we start talking about nukes, and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, did you know that there's a nuke 150 feet below the ground in North Carolina that fell out of a fucking plane in the Cold War? I'm like, what the? No. Like, see, that would have been fucking amazing on the podcast, because he just like pulled it out of nowhere. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing?
What are you at, Bubba?
Oh, we're doing this again.
Oh, hi.
What?
Jesus. Come here.
Oh, he's back in his seat. But yeah, like he just had the ball rolling. Like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was never told this. You didn't know when I told you. I was like, yeah, there's a bomb under the ground over there. I had
no idea.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little scary. But, so I think Kelvin would do fine. Because you get him on some shit he's interested in, oh, this guy will go. But no, if you try telling him golf technique, no, that doesn't work out well. Or I don't know, he's like, oh, why would you drive anywhere for a concert? Boo. I wouldn't do that. Boo. Or how long's that movie? How much does it cost?
Oh my god.
Like, me and Calvin are going, or what? Me and Freddie are going to see NF this weekend. And Calvin said there, we were talking about it the other day, he's like, I don't think I'd drive that far for a concert. I was like, that's not even that bad. And he's like, oh, well, it's too far for me. I was like, oh, really? Like, come on. It's like, that's lame. Like, he's an old man in a fucking 22-year-old's body.
That's what I feel like. I feel like a 6-year-old woman in a 19-year-old's body.
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh,
Speaking of Calvin not taking golf pointers, you got hit by a golf ball Sunday.
I wish you would have taken a picture.
I wish I just would have saved it to the chat, because he sent it, and I want him to, I might text him and be like, yo, send me a picture of your leg now, because it's been 2 days. And so he got whacked by a golf ball right in the back of the calf, right off the tee box on a par 3, and it just shot over and smacked him, and I'm surprised he didn't drop.
If you didn't know, Brett is a 60-year-old man, and he's now into golf. He golfs
There's
all
really
the time.
not that old people out there.
They go during the day when normal people are working. They are retired.
Exactly, so they don't golf.
Okay.
I see more people my age or older than me that golf, but between the ages of like 25 and 30, 22 and 30. But yes, I've been golfing a decent amount, and Calvin got smoked. He about got hit in the face on one. See, this is another thing. I should get Calvin on, because I could talk to him about how he's a golf magnet. About smacked him right in the head. Oh my gosh.
You want to play, don't you, Bubba?
Well, why?
Get
Diesel.
It.
Hey.
Get it.
Diesel, come here. Well, oh. Why are you so climby?
He wants to play. He wants to go outside and play.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're getting called away, but sorry about the kind of abrupt ending. Don't hit the fucking light.
I meant to go over it.
No shit. All right. Well, I hope you guys do enjoy. I'll be back next week, and maybe Bailey will be on. It depends. We'll see what happens. But maybe I'll get Freddie on. But thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed if you made it this far. And if you did, please consider liking and subscribing. And I will talk to you guys all in the next episode.
Peace out. Oh, I thought you said peace out.
Peace out.
What do you normally say?
Peace.
Let's try again.
Peace.
3, 2, 1.
Peace.
Peace.